Carter, Chris, and I are here from the Florida Squeeze, and let's talk about the one congressional seat in Florida, which is right now effectively a toss-up race from where we see it, because we actually polled the district here at the Florida Squeeze along with our friends at Voting Trend, Dave Trotter and Voting Trend, and that is Congressional District 13, which is a district completely within Pinellas County, a county that was hit hard by two successive major hurricanes, Helene in late September and Milton in early October. Because of that, both those storms, we weren't able to go into the field with this poll until mid-October, and ballots were already out. Pinellas County is a county where vote by mail is more common, even among Republicans, than it is in the rest of the state. So we have very fresh, recent data with the poll we did. This poll showed a dead heat, as you're seeing on your screens. And there are significant reasons for this related to the Republican incumbent. And the Democrat, by the way, is Whitney Fox, who is has proven to be a very good candidate. People weren't sure what to make of her. She was not recruited necessarily by the DCCC, but now obviously has the support of the DCCC after our poll and some other polls showed she could be competitive. And Paulina Luna, who is the Republican incumbent, is really like a Marjorie Taylor Greene or a Lauren Boebert in terms of her bombastic comments, her voting record, and in general, her temperament. And so she's someone who ran in 2020 on the old district lines when the district included the city of St. Petersburg, which was then taken out of the district in the 2022 redistricting. She lost in 2020 against Charlie Crist, who was the Democratic incumbent. Of course, at one time was the Republican governor of Florida, switched parties, got elected in this seat as a Democrat in 2016, and ran for governor again for his old spot in 2022, was the Democratic nominee, got beat. It was also the Democratic nominee in 2014 for governor, by the way. We could do a whole thing on Charlie Crist's history. I've known Governor Crist for 29 years, or had an acquaintance with him for 29 years. So a lot we could talk about with him, but we're not talking about him today. This was his district. Once St. Petersburg was cut out of the district, he knew he had to run for governor. He wasn't going to get reelected in this district. Also should note that this district was drawn similarly to the old district by the Florida legislature, a Republican legislature, and that was vetoed by Governor DeSantis, who drew his own map, which cut St. Petersburg out of this district and put it in the already heavily Democratic district represented by Kathy Castor out of Tampa, and crossed the bay with that district, which I still don't know how the courts allowed that district to remain in place, but they did. So Luna runs in 2022 on the new district lines. She beats Eric Lynn, the Democratic nominee. But she has been, quite frankly, an embarrassment to many people. And Pinellas County, as you've heard me talk about in previous videos, is the one county in Florida where we have a significant number of what we would call, quote, Rockefeller Republicans, unquote. We have a significant number of what I used to call St. Pete Times Republicans. The St. Petersburg Times, which is now the Tampa Bay Times, is the major daily newspaper in the area. A lot of Republicans who are pro-environment, who are pro-choice on abortion, for gun control, but were conservative on economics, resided in Pinellas County. And they were newspaper readers, right? Unlike many other Republicans around the country. And they have a real soft spot on the environment because Pinellas County is on a peninsula and it is a coastal county. And that coastal county issue comes into play when we talk about these recent hurricanes, Milton and Helene, and the amount of damage, just devastated. In my other life in soccer, there's a team called the Tampa Bay Rowdies that plays in St. Petersburg, and their stadium was heavily damaged in Helene, but they had a backup stadium they were going to play at for the rest of their regular season, and then that stadium got badly damaged in Milton, and then they had to relocate for the remainder of the USL Championship season. They're still alive in the USL playoffs. They'll be playing Charleston. this coming week in Charleston against the Charleston Battery, the very good team, Charleston Battery in the USL. But the point is, this area, normal life has been disrupted by these storms, and environmental concerns are already front and center. And in our poll, we found that there was likely to be a lot of crossover votes for Whitney Fox, by a lot, 15% for Whitney Fox, which of Republicans, which is pretty substantial. And there were 379 Republicans that responded to the poll. So that's a significant number, and that tracks with some of the things we're seeing, the data analysis we're seeing, that there could be all these Republican crossover votes in Florida. In terms of NPAs, Fox was getting 49% in the poll, or 48.4%, Luna 41%, and about 11% was still undecided. So basically, we were looking at a situation where this district is competitive because there are so many Republicans in the area, unlike other parts of Florida, that will cross over and vote for a Democrat for Congress, a Democrat for U.S. Senate, a Democrat for president, and they have voted regularly for more moderate Republicans for state Senate and state House. Some of the most moderate to liberal Republicans we've had in the state Senate and state House have come from Pinellas County in the last 25 to 30 years. And in fact, they had their legislative delegation, I would argue, with fewer Democrats, was more liberal than Hillsborough counties across the Bay for many, many years, between like 1995 and 2010. This is when the legislature was more competitive, and there were more competitive legislative races around the state. After the 2010 election, the Republicans really, particularly in the state House, pulled away in terms of their control. They did also, to a certain extent, after the 2004 election, which was Bush's win in Florida, but then it snapped back in 2006. The Democrats picked up a number of seats, a lot of the marginal seats. So this is the race to watch on election night in Florida, beyond the presidency and beyond the U.S. Senate race. We are going to have a preview probably tomorrow morning of first off of Election Day, and what I'm going to be watching at certain times on Election Day, but then also I want to go and look at some of the state House races and a state attorney's race in Hillsborough County, and the supervisor of elections race in Miami-Dade County. Those will be key races in the state as well. Maybe we'll bring that to you sometime during Election Day, and then that can serve as a preview for what's going on down ballot later in the evening. But this is Congressional District 13, Florida Congressional District 13. If Whitney Fox wins, the Democrats are likely to take the U.S. House back, and we're likely to have Speaker Hakeem Jeffries come January.